Welcome back to Trevilian Next. I'm your host, Amber Bucher, and today we're diving into some striking findings from the new 2025-2026 Financial Industry Affiliate Marketing Report. I'm joined by Alana Levine, Chief Revenue Officer at Fintel Connect, and Melissa Rawl, Director of Product Marketing at Live Oak Bank, a roughly $14 billion asset institution based in Wilmington, North Carolina. So we've covered affiliate marketing basics with our friends from Fintel before. Be sure to check out that episode from July of 2023 to get more background on the partnership between Fintel and Live Oak. But today we're focusing on what's changed and what bank executives need to know about affiliate marketing in this moment in time. Ladies, welcome.
Hi.
Thanks so much. Excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, Alana, we'll just dive right in with you. Can you help us kind of get a quick level set for listeners that may not know what is affiliate marketing and where does Fintel kind of fit into that landscape?
Sure. So affiliate marketing is another acquisition tool in your toolkit, if you will, when you're looking at tactics you can use to digitally acquire accounts and customers online. It's working with third parties. Very familiar to some would be the NerdWallets and the Bankrates and the Forbes of the world, but helping facilitate those partnerships where they market your products. And so it's a really great tactic to be part of the consideration set for banks, for consumers who are shopping for products in these third-party destinations. So making sure that you're part of the mix. And the best part about the channel is it is very results-based, so tied to success metrics like open funded accounts. And Fintel really acts as a facilitator. So we're there to support with building out the strategy, helping get access to these partners and understand how they work and help kind of launch and optimize the campaigns through these different third parties that you may be working with. And then, our technology does all of the back end in terms of scaling and optimizing the channel. So really it's helping unlock this as a channel for effective growth for banks that are looking at expanding their tactics and how they reach new customers.
Awesome. And just to double back quickly, you said that you're paying when someone kind of does the thing that the bank wanted them to do in terms of like, maybe you just want an account, maybe you want an account and you want it funded. There are different metrics that you can set based on your goals. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yep, that's exactly right.
Sounds interesting. And Melissa, I know that Live Oak Bank has had a lot of success with this channel. So can you help a banker who's listening understand what that looks like from a practical perspective and what kind of benefits a bank could expect to see from engaging in this channel?
Yeah, for sure. So I think, from the marketing standpoint, we're always just trying to get to a customer where they are. And so affiliate marketing allows us to be there when a customer is actually, or a lead is researching the financial product that they need. And then our bank is listed right there in their research. It gives us the ability to be listed beside some of the biggest banks with the biggest brand budgets without that price tag, like Alana mentioned, you kind of pay for what you get. And so it's efficient performance-based tool. And it gives us both that top of funnel where people find us, but it also helps us in the conversion channel, conversion state of the funnel at the bottom. And so it's been, a great efficient tool for us as we are kind of rolling out our products more broadly.
And you do have a lot of products too, because if I'm understanding Live Oak Bank's history correctly, you started serving veterinarians, right? Like one very specific niche, and then expanded that out. Now you've got 35 plus, I think, different verticals that you're serving. I think a lot of that has to do with your expertise as a digital bank and being able to do that. So can you help us understand, Melissa, what about digital banking lends itself so well to providing that really personalized experience for all those different verticals you're serving?
That's a really great question. And, I think it really gets to the core of how we operate. As a digital bank, people often think that's all about technology, but our secret sauce is our people. And so our bankers are really consultative in how they approach the customer and their needs, taking the time to understand their business, and then making sure that they're providing solutions that actually meet their needs for their business and their industry. So as we started with veterinarians, we actually brought on industry experts who knew the vet space and knew what those businesses needed so that we then could go and understand that. And we've rinsed and repeated that across industries, but it goes, much beyond that. And we really, understand the needs of small businesses and large businesses as well. And so our bankers are able to provide the solutions that they need.
Awesome. I love hearing about different bank models, but really Fintel and affiliate marketing can work for any kind of bank, whether you're a digital bank or a typical community bank, whatever the situation. So I mean, let's dive into the headlines, right? Alana, we just talked in the intro about this new report that Fintel put out. You guys have been tracking the affiliate marketing industry for a while now. What are some of the things that stood out to you in this year's report on the industry? And did you see any major shifts from years past?
I mean, we put out this report mainly because we find affiliates are the best kind of window into what consumer behavior is looking like. These publishers and affiliates are expert digital marketers, and really they're there and exist to help these consumers make financial decisions. So when they can look at and directly measure, traffic volumes or upticks based on certain keywords, or where they're seeing greater volumes or appetite from these consumers and their demand, and seeing those shifts, it really provides a lot of direct insight into what's going on in the market, aside from obviously just surveying customers or consumers directly. So I think it's a great window into that, which is why we do the report. We ask a lot of questions in the report about what affiliates are seeing, how they're operating, what they're anticipating as shifts in market from a consumer standpoint, and also from their financial institution partners as well. I think one of the biggest things that stood out to me this year, which would maybe be unsurprising, but a big shift, I would say, is the demand, both from a consumer standpoint and a small business standpoint, for debt products has basically doubled. So publishers, more than double the number of publishers in the report, indicated that they're anticipating consumer need for personal loans is going to increase, credit cards, and on the business side as well, credit cards was the big uptick, as well as small business lending. So I think just with the current economic climate, it's not surprising. But I think, if you are a banker who's looking at what products are going to help me build a first initial relationship, maybe with a net new customer, I find lending products are a great way to do it. I think a lot of banks focus on the deposit side. All banks need deposits. It's still very much a thing. And I think they have their kind of traditional channels and tactics and sales teams for how they generate lending interest. But I think we're seeing a lot more digital banks putting pressure on kind of traditional banks to offer these types of products and make them more digitally accessible, because these businesses and these consumers are obviously shopping for these products online. So I think that was a really stark change from last year's response, was just the significant increase in demand for lending products.
It's interesting too, because you're getting all of this data from the market signals, and Melissa, I'm sure that you're able to use that to talk to your executive team, and being able to share industry trends from things that you're learning from these publishers and what they want to write about, but then also knowing kind of how your products stack up in the market, because you have to have a compelling product to be really successful, I think, in affiliate marketing. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's like step one of making sure that what you bring into the affiliate space, like, I think it has to be competitive. It has to add value for the customer, for a publisher to ever even want to touch it, right? And so I think, as far as like first steps of where you begin an affiliate, making sure that you're identifying like where are your products competitive, and then entering. But yeah, I think also from your question on like being able to bring this back to our executives, a partnership with someone like Fintel, who's so deeply entrenched in financial services, that is a value add for us, is that they're able to kind of see, they have a different lens on the market from those publishers and from working with so many. So certainly are able to bring back some insights through that relationship.
That's a nice help to have real data. Everyone loves data. Being armed with more information is always great.
Knowing you're not alone, which is, I think, the big thing. It's like if Melissa's seeing something on marketing and leadership saying, why is this happening? We can come back and say, hey, you're not alone. This is a common thread. We've seen, a shift in volume in these areas, or we've seen an increase in cost in these areas. And it helps control the narrative, maybe.
Yeah, it certainly adds to it, right? It gives us color that maybe we don't have full, lens into otherwise.
Interesting. And Alana, the other thing that you, I think, pointed out about this report when we were talking before the recording was just the massive amount of growth that we're seeing in AI, obviously kind of changing this space potentially. We're seeing publishers kind of grappling with how to deal with this AI monster that's kind of gobbling up, potentially, here to gobble up some of the traditional search channels. Are you seeing that? How are people dealing with that? Is it something that's on the minds of these publishers?
Hugely so. I think it feels like it's kind of come at a bang, but I think it's been gently kind of creeping up, and we've been monitoring it for a long time. And now I think it's you as with anything, you get the early adopters, and now I think we're at the stage where a lot more consumers, like if I were to talk to my friends and family, everybody now is consulting with ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever platform they use. So I think consumer behavior is driving a lot of the shift. And people are using these platforms to do their research. I think we've seen a shift more, I'd say earlier on in the small business area, actually. So I think that's had more of an initial impact than on the consumer side. Just I think by volume and by nature of who the audiences are, they tend to be savvier. So I think they're going to these third-party destinations, and it is going to influence the affiliate space. I think it's an exciting opportunity more than anything because these affiliates play a really important role in actually what gets surfaced in the LLM and platform responses. So their content is still very much influencer, if you will, in it, whether or not your brand is showing up. And I think part of the strategy now that we've been looking at slightly shifting is, understanding how financial institutions can more closely work with these publishers to help ensure that they own part of those responses, or that if someone's searching for a very specific prompt, that the FI is actually showing up in the results. And I still think there's a level of trust that's required. I think people still will go to these different third parties because they want to look at real people who have done well-researched content, experts that are, investigating these products and helping to kind of provide an easy comparison. So I don't see it going away anytime soon, but I think it's just looking at adjusting how you measure it and the weight that you put on each of these different kind of tactics moving forward.
That makes total sense because just to reiterate, the AI does not know anything, right? The AI is going out and looking for the articles that the NerdWallets or whoever are writing, and that's what they're using to surface these answers. So that makes total sense that the message is still getting through. We just have to make sure that it's surfacing in these correct LLMs. So that's really helpful way to think of that. The report also showed, it was very packed full of really pretty charts and everything. Beautiful, by the way, too, easy to read. The report also showed that publishers may be a little bit hesitant right now to change their promotional focus just due to economic uncertainty. So they're not sure, I know we talked about, debt products a little bit, but sometimes they're not sure whether they should really push into this new product or that as a publisher because they're not sure if the interest will be there. What's your advice for executives who may be kind of stuck right now, not knowing which products are going to succeed? And that's for both or either of you.
I'll start somewhere. I think you probably have a different lens, but I think, again, if you're thinking about which product to bring into the affiliate space, again, I think it's just like I said earlier, making sure that it's competitive and that it's something that publishers can identify, actually this does add value and this is competitive, therefore they're going to want to write a genuine review about it, right? And then I think that's what leads to customers actually buying. And then also identifying your target audience. So the cool thing with affiliate is sometimes you have a product that's for mass market, and that's a great one in the really big publishers. But then sometimes you have something and it's really more niche, and you can still work with the affiliates to go into a more niche audience with a niche publisher, right? So if you are looking for tiny micro businesses, yes, you can do that with NerdWallet, but you also can do it with these smaller publications that have a loyal following. So I think understanding your audience for your product is also a big play.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'd say the other thing too is, which seems really obvious, but have the open dialogue. I mean, we've had many scenarios, and I think we've even had this maybe to a degree, Melissa, where there is an assumption or hypothesis or an appetite from the bank to want to push forward with one product, and the underlying goal may be net new relationships, it may be deposit generation, whatever it is, and the publishers come back and say, cool, we're interested, but really, we actually really like what this product's all about. We didn't expect money markets to be in such high demand, but what happens is the publishers are seeing increased demand and they don't have the same inventory and there's space available. And it could be an unexpected opportunity to really own that space with that particular partner. So I'd say the more open you can be in the conversation to say, what are you seeing? Where's the greatest demand? Where do you think we can win? And even looking at, if the product isn't performing, or the product, to Melissa's point, isn't necessarily as competitive in some elements, like what are the levers and pulleys that you have at your disposal that the publisher can help guide you and say, listen, if you removed this barrier or this fee, or, if your end goal is this, please understand there's a line of consequence of you making this hurdle. This consumers have to jump through this hurdle. And I think sometimes they're a great kind of litmus test as an initial microcosm audience of how it could perform. So that's my advice, is definitely just be very open with them. They're partners that, they're going to succeed when you succeed, and vice versa. So I think that's what makes the channel such a powerful one.
That's really interesting because it's like free research, right? I mean, you're able to do customer research on ostensibly the hundreds of thousands of people that are reading these publications and what they want and what they're seeing. And that's, an extra data point. Again, it's all about getting more information, right? That you don't have to go out and pull your own customers. You can actually talk to people that are serving the entire industry nationwide, and get some of these data points that will really help you compete. And it's kind of startling, actually, how in-depth with the products this conversation sounds. Like, oh, you should know that if you take this off, then you're going to lose, a significant portion of, or gain a significant portion of people. Like, I just don't think that most people would think of journalists as people that have, helpful thoughts on product development, but that's really what this could lead to, right? Is help with developing your procedures and how you design products, which is really interesting, especially I think for smaller banks that maybe don't have someone like Melissa that's specifically focused on product marketing. They're wearing a million hats, and they're maybe a traditional marketer that understands, paid placement and, in person and all of the conferences and all of that. But, this is something that is so related to the product itself. And that's kind of unique, I think, for a lot of banks.
I actually saw someone post earlier today about how the bank used to be the product. It no longer is the case where the bank is the product or the service. It's the individual products that they're offering, because that's how consumer engagement has kind of evolved and how they use these different products. And I find consumers are a lot savvier now in understanding, where should I keep my money? What's going to be easiest operationally for me to manage my day-to-day? And one thing to add, Amber, to what you were saying is, and maybe a disclaimer for the banks listening in, is don't be surprised if you don't like what you hear from the partners. And don't take offense to it. It's constructive feedback, and they're like, well, why wouldn't they want to promote my product if my rate is this or this or this? And they don't always like what they hear, and that's just a reality. So.
Another data point, whether we like it.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So Melissa, taking it back to you, if you were going to advise one of these traditional bank CEOs or bank marketers who's never done affiliate marketing, what would you say is their first step? Where should they start?
You got to have semi-clean data, right? And I think that can be tough for banks, but you got to understand, if you're going to go into it, you kind of need to understand what that lift is. And so you need the clean data. You need to get your compliance team bought in. You got to think about this as marketing in a little bit different terms. And so, where are your lines that you're willing to, there is editorial content as part of this. And so we, again, don't control the whole narrative. So getting your compliance team on board. For us, and Alana, you may have, I'd be interested to see what you think on this question, because I would say, like, maybe start small, test and optimize. So for us, we started with one product and we went to a lot of publishers. Today, years later, we've got multiple products, less publishers. I think different things work for different banks depending on your product set and your audience, but that it's evolved over time. And then I think maybe this is a silly one, but to scale, you need an agency. Like, we could never do what we're doing without a partner. And so I think that helps us in scaling the partnerships, the products, the placements, all because we have set this in motion, and we kind of have a machine running now where, we are in lockstep and work very closely together, Live Oak and Fintel. We also have reporting that's going back and forth. We've got a lot of mechanisms in place. And so the agency relationship has been absolutely key to that.
What do you think, Alana? Do you agree with the start small and test? What's your advice on that?
100%. We have many phrases that people will probably hear me say in lots of different contexts. That one of them is hold on tightly, let go lightly, and it's or like crawl before you walk, before you run. But the idea is starting from, I think, a position of clarity on what does success look like, and if we're going to invest in this channel, at minimum, what are we going to expect as a return, and what, from a quality standpoint, are the kind of expectations for performance. And it is a very performance driven channel. I think when you have that clarity, you can then start really gently with experimenting, and then you continue to build on it with your learnings on doubling down on partners that are performing really well, and seeing what you can do to divert budget to those partners, and then bringing on other partners that look like those partners or have audiences that are similar, and continuing to experiment and iterate. And Melissa hit the nail on the head. Don't try and take this on in isolation within your organization. I think getting buy-in from compliance early, who are going to want to have oversight, making sure your PR and comms team, if they operate separately, are aware of this as a different kind of tactic, complementary to maybe what they do on the editorial or earned media side. From a product standpoint, having direct feedback into the product team, I think, is hugely valuable. And then from an analytics standpoint as well, having that feedback loop of data. How you start isn't always how you finish, to Melissa's point. So even from a tracking standpoint, we, can't always get the resources to do a full-blown, tracking in the way that we would really like. So we know what, let's work within the bounds of what we've got, understanding that if we see success and we want to invest more resources, we can then double down and try and kind of enhance the frequency of data sharing or the depth of what gets shared. I think I would definitely reinforce what Melissa is saying, and just starting from clarity. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I love a place of agreement as a place of finality. So I think that wraps it up beautifully. Thank you so much, ladies, both of you, for sharing your wisdom and your experiences. Where can folks find you? Maybe Melissa, we'll start with you.
Well, you can find our bank at liveoak.bank or on all the social platforms, and you can find me on LinkedIn. Again, it's Melissa Roll. Happy to talk if anyone has any questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And Alana, definitely tell us where we can find this report and anything else that we should know about how to get a hold of you.
Yep. As Melissa said, website fintelconnect.com. The report is in our resources page. So if you go to our website and go to resources, it'll be right there at the top. And then myself, also LinkedIn or Alana at fintelconnect.com.
Awesome. Thank you both.
Thank you. It's been great.